Jeremiah, I had a dream last night about being in New Jersey and I was walking Oreo. We came across a dog owner and she was also walking her dog. I was talking to her for a little bit and I barely realized that Oreo saw a little kitten and he took off running. For some reason, I was like, oh, it's cool, I'll catch up to him. I turn around and I realize there's no catching up to him. I have no idea where he is. We're in some wild city in New Jersey. I'm not familiar with the surroundings or neighborhoods, anything. I start panicking and I start calling everybody. Oreo did have a collar on that had his name and contact information for me and your dad, but it felt like it was going to be impossible to get him back because he's so cute and he's so lovable, and I knew that somebody was going to pick him up and just keep him forever. And so it was me just going throughout all these emotions, and somehow my parents from Minnesota came, and this was still a part of the same dream. We're still looking for Oreo. A lot of people are kind of trying to convince me to just leave and go home, and it was such a bummer. And I got into a huge fight with my mom. Except here's the weird thing. My mom really wasn't my mom. It looked like my mom, but the things I was telling her about that she did, that she wasn't taking accountability, was not anything she did. It was actually what somebody else in my life that I'm very upset with, who is not taking accountability of their actions, of the actions of the person they're with. So it was really interesting because in my dream, I'm really going in on who looks like my mom, and I'm telling her all these things, and I'm telling her that I took accountability for all of the not so nice things that I've done in the past, and it's been so treacherous just trying to get through all of these things, and that I'm doing my best, and the least that she can do for her child is to take accountability and to kind of look at herself from another perspective. And it was just crazy. It was really just an argumentative dream. And I remember being in the back of a van kind of fighting with her, and everybody else got out to go into the gas station. Then I ended up calling my grandma, who is somebody who I always used to call or go to. I would go to her house and I would just sit there. And I would just bawl my eyes out, and I just talk to her about my life and anything I was struggling with. And I just sit there for hours until somehow it kind of made sense. This is real life, right? I used to really do that. I'd primarily go there because something was really wrong in a relationship, or something was really wrong with my mom and dad, and I just had a really hard time handling it. It's one of those things where your intuition, your gut knows what you should be doing. Say a relationship. I know I shouldn't be here. I know I shouldn't be with this person. However, I'm having a really hard time pulling myself out of it. And so sitting down and talking to my grandma, it just made a lot more sense. And it was to somebody who obviously loved me and wanted the best for me, but also understood maybe where I was coming from. It was kind of like a third party, just because I didn't feel like I was being judged. It kind of felt like she was my therapist before I had a therapist. So it was really nice. Anyways, in my dream, going back there, I'd called her. And for some reason, when I called her, it actually brought me to her house. So I kind of saw the things that she was talking about while she was talking to me about what's going on in her life and the things she's doing right now. And it kind of just brought me back to a really nice reality of the situation of missing Oreo. And in the dream, there really was no resolution. I woke up and Oreo was actually on my chest when I woke up from my dream, and I just petted him and I was so grateful, and I was just saying I'm so grateful he's here, he's not lost, I love him, just being so appreciative of him. Anyways, it kind of just leads me into accountability, and I think it's so frustrating when you're dealing with somebody who doesn't believe something happened, right? I think a lot of the times we want to look at facts, but in some situations we cannot look at facts. Sometimes we just have to believe somebody's word for it. And I think that's really hard for somebody, especially somebody who's maybe been cheated on, because going back to when I was always searching for receipts or credit card purchases or something that was able to give me a date and a time so I could understand and kind of investigate, I suppose, that way. And in some situations and scenarios, there's not going to be film, there's not going to be photos, it's just going to be something we have to believe because somebody told us. I think we also have to look at the clues onto what built us up to that situation. It doesn't just come out of the blue. There's always these small underlying clues that maybe we missed in the beginning. those things should be counted as factual because they actually did happen. I think some people really tried their best to kind of talk themselves out of situations, and that's just interesting to me. I genuinely think, too, going back to last week, I was talking about intuition. I genuinely think that will only last people so long until they genuinely break, or until the history repeats itself and you're in a situation where a lot of people could look at you and say, I told you so. I don't want to ever be in that position where I look at somebody and say, like, I told you so. Sometimes I just want people to kind of be accountable and say, hey, I really should have listened to you, or I really should have just followed my own gut. Like, I really screwed this up. I should have kind of seen this coming, and I'm really sorry because I realized you were just trying to help me. Whew. Sometimes things like that is just simple. And it's not that people are even looking for validation. It's just that sometimes people push so hard to be right when everybody is looking at them. And they're like, nobody wants you to be wrong. People feel for you. People know that it's really hard what you're going through. But we're just trying to help you, and we're trying to have you like rip off the Band-Aid now and not later when you're even more hurt, or when this person hurts more people. And yes, I'm talking vague once again, but I think it really, once again, applies to other things in life. This can apply to anything. Sometimes we just have to take the L, even as big and giant and scary as that is. Like, take the loss and recuperate what we can and walk away. In every situation, it's not going to be easy. There's going to be so many pieces where we're going to try to pick up and they just kind of fall between the cracks. We're not going to be able to take everything that we came into a place with, right? Especially when we have to leave. Even when you're moving out to college, you can't take every single thing in your room. You can't take your bunk bed. You probably won't take your chair. You probably won't take every single art supply, right? But it's for the better, because you might find so many other cool art supplies. Like when I went to art school, we had this thing called the free shelf. And when people didn't want things anymore, they were moving on to the next grade, or just they were done with their class project and they just didn't want it, they'd put stuff on the free shelf. And there was so many useful things, from food to any kind of art supply you could imagine, to furniture, to clothes, to so many things. And it was just brilliant. Did I know that even existed? Absolutely not. It's just one of those things you kind of find on your way. Sorry for all the dog barking in the background. Standing on a pier after I went for half my run. I'm recording this, and then I'm going to go for my other half and get home to you. And I love you, and I know being accountable isn't easy, always. It's not always you who you're going to fight for accountability for. Sometimes it's going to be me. Sometimes it's going to be your dad. And just be patient. Sometimes we'll get to a point where accountability isn't necessarily what we thought it was, even when somebody apologizes for something. Sometimes it's just within ourselves. And so this isn't to say you're trying to search for somebody's accountability. It's to just accept that maybe they don't want to take accountability, but to understand that everything that you've said, everything that you've done was truthful, was honest, and that you spoke up and did the right things for the right reasons, to protect yourself, to protect others. And I think that's the most important thing, just being true to yourself. Just keep listening to your gut.